All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sean DeBelle. I am on the board of directors for Mass Youth Soccer, and I'll be your moderator for the webinar. Thank you to Mass Youth Soccer for hosting today, and thank you all for joining us today as we celebrate International Day of Persons with Disabilities. International Day of Persons with Disabilities aims to promote awareness and support the rights, dignity, and well-being of people with disabilities. It also seeks to increase the understanding of disability issues and the benefits of integrating people with disabilities into all aspects of society. Today, we have the pleasure of being joined by leaders in adaptive sports who are helping to provide opportunities for athletes in Massachusetts. We have John Raynone from Massachusetts Youth Soccer Board of Directors and Top Soccer, Matt Ruxton from Special Olympics Massachusetts, Mara Yale from CP Soccer, and Danielle Potemri from New England Amputee Soccer, as well as Joe Walsh from Adaptive Sports New England. Each of the guests is going to spend some time sharing a bit of information about their programming opportunities that they have for athletes with disabilities. And then toward the end, we'll have an opportunity for everyone to ask them some questions during a Q&A session. So please feel free to jot down any questions you may have for our guests so that you can ask them those questions toward the end. A few housekeeping items to go over. Please keep yourself muted throughout the webinar. Once we get to the Q&A session, you can unmute yourself to ask any questions you may have. You can also type in those questions in the chat as well if you're unable to speak or communicate at this time. And so first up to share a little bit about their information about their program is John Raynone from Top Soccer.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Glad you could join us today. I get to kick off this wonderful webinar with a little bit of history at the beginning for Top Soccer. A little bit of my history is that I am on the board of directors for Mass Youth Soccer. And I also run a Top Soccer program for the King Philip Soccer Association. For the last 14 years, I've been involved with that. From the state level, the program, you can see the slides. I'm not going to read you each word on the slide, but I'll hit the highlights of it. Top Soccer in Massachusetts, we have a Top Soccer committee with Mass Youth Soccer. It's made up of volunteers, board of directors, and really anybody that was interested in growing the game, growing Top Soccer for a little bit further. Top Soccer is a little bit different than some of the other programs you're going to be hearing about today. We do have what we call coaches and buddies for our program. The buddies are usually the kids that work with the athletes, and some of the coaches are usually the adults that are in the program, helping the buddies get acquainted with their athletes and in coordination with the games. Just to Sean, you can go to the next slide. The next slide is just what is Top Soccer. So Top Soccer is a few different things. And just looking at these pictures that you're seeing here, Top Soccer is a wide range. We have activities that are on the field. We have an opportunity, we provide an opportunity for every disability. We have players that are on crutches. We have athletes that are in wheelchairs. We have athletes that could play on a travel soccer team. That's one of the reasons why we are really joining forces a little bit with Special Olympics, because we saw a need in some of our local programs where these kids they may have disabilities, but they can play in a very competitive level. So we're looking forward to working with Matt and his group on possibly getting a unified team together and doing things like that. Some of these pictures, the top picture is from my local program at KP. And the picture on the bottom is a picture from Night at the Revolution, where the kids just go and we have stations set up and everything. But no matter what you have set up and what you have planned for that day, be ready to pivot. And that's just kind of an example. That bottom picture is an example of how we pivot if if things aren't going exactly the way we have planned. But she was really enjoying herself with that. We can go to the next one. So there's a question, right? I'm considering getting involved. What opportunities exist for me? Well, we have opportunities throughout the state. I believe we are up over 30 programs now in the state. Just a few years ago, we only had 24. So we have definitely grown over the last few years. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to Tammy. Our information will be on the last slide. There's always a top soccer program around the area that would be more than willing to get you involved in any type of opportunity. And you don't need to know about soccer. There is no soccer experience needed, just the desire to help these players. And they get so much joy just being with someone. So we do have a couple of requirements for the buddies, and the buddies, like I said, are the people that assist the athletes. And we typically like to get age 12 and over, but it has worked even with kids younger than 12 years old. So if anybody is interested or does know anybody that's interested in participating as an athlete in the program or participating as a volunteer, please reach out to us. And here's one of the whys, right? Why should I volunteer? Because we want all the players to have the ability or the opportunity to play the beautiful game of soccer. And you know, we're all kids at heart. We like being on the field too. We like to play, and these kids just like to go out and play. And like I said, sometimes you have a really good plan of how things are going to go, and then you get to the field and those kids just had a real bad morning and they don't want to do anything except for sitting in a circle and playing with the volunteer. So that's all we require, is that you're willing to work with them and support them. And then the last one, you know, I'm ready to get involved. What do I do now? Like I said before, there are a lot of local programs. On the Massachusetts Soccer website, we have a list of all the programs in the area, in the state of Massachusetts, actually. And you can reach out. I believe that list is pretty up to date now. And you can reach out. All the coordinators have their contact name and email address. You can reach out to them, or if you can't get in touch with anybody over there, you can also reach out to Tammy and myself at that information right there. And once again, just a couple of pictures of, you know, what happens, right? What it is all about. The top picture on the right is, again, the night at the Revs and a player meeting slide. And down on the bottom left is one of the players from my group that at the end of our session, at the end of our 6 weeks, we always have an ice cream truck that shows up. And if you can't guess, she had blue popsicle. But she enjoyed it, and she's really her mom is a real advocate for our program also. And just to touch on a couple of things locally with my program. So my program has grown over the past couple of years. We are now up to between 55 and 62 kids in our program. We have always been around 25 to 28. I made an effort to reach out to a couple of different groups that I had never really made contact with before. And those are like the CPAC groups. So I know we do have a couple of people I noticed that run TOPS programs on this call. So if you guys need any information from me, please reach out to me. I can get you some contacts. One thing we did that was really great was we got involved in with the local police departments, and they come to our top soccer program now. And we also this year got a visit from the Rhode Island professional men's soccer team, and we got a visit from some of their people and the mascot. Again, any information that you need, reach out please to Tammy and myself. And that's it. Look forward to hearing everybody else's information.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, John. And again, if you have any questions or like additional information, please feel free to reach out to John or Tammy at the information on your screen. And up next, we have Matt Ruxton from Special Olympics, Massachusetts.
Hey guys, I'm Matt Ruxton. I'm the Vice President of Sports here at Special Olympics Massachusetts. Thank you for having me on and to talk about our organization and what we do here in Massachusetts. As you can see, we are really trying to build an inclusive community through sports, and we have athletes of all different abilities and a wide range of abilities, like I said before, from and ages as well. So we are a statewide organization, and Sean, you can go to the next slide if you want, right here. So what we do, why we do it, like I said, we're really trying to build inclusive communities throughout the state using sports as our catalyst. We do sports, we do health initiatives. We offer 25 sports, I think, at this point right now, with soccer being one of our biggest sports, team sports. But you can get involved in a variety of ways, and you don't necessarily have to be a person with an intellectual disability to be a part of our program. You know, everyone wants that opportunity to play, just like they see their peers, and this is what we strive to be. I know when our organization was founded back in 1968 by Eunice Kennedy Shriver, she had a sister, Rosemary, who had an intellectual disability, and she was very empowered and inspired by her to offer those opportunities for everyone else. And she was a firm believer that our athletes can play sports just like their peers can, and they have no differences than anyone else. So we use the power of sport to enhance our athletes' physical health, to provide recreation, and to provide that sense of camaraderie and teamwork, like it says in the slide. So Sean, you can go to the next slide right now if you want. What we do, I think I kind of highlighted a little bit, is, well, our specialty is sports. We have 25 different sports. We're year round. I think everyone looks at Special Olympics and they say, when is that track meet for people with Down syndrome in the city of Boston? Well, we're more than just that. We are, we're 365 days a year. We are 365, 7 days a week, like we said, 52 weeks, 52 weeks. We have community-based programs. We have school-based programs. We're in over 300 schools. We have 140 community-based programs throughout the state. We have a variety of competitive opportunities. Our athletes, they play in leagues just like your athletes do. They do tournaments. We have state events. If you look at this slide, we service over 17,000 individuals within the state. We're probably hitting about 1/3 of what we can actually do, and we're looking to grow that and provide more opportunities for recreation to get our athletes involved in the sports and have that entry level. And we're really focusing on our schools and getting more involved in creating those inclusive environments in our schools. We're in high schools, we're in middle schools, we're in elementary schools, to provide those programmings for the athletes, and then looking to get them and keep them involved once they leave school to be a part of it. Not only, like I said, we have all those competitions, we do over 900 events a year to provide these competitions and these opportunities. And they're both unified and traditional. Unified is someone with and without intellectual disabilities on the court field together. I think what John talked about is us trying to build some more unified teams through Top Soccer, using Top Soccer as an entry point for our athletes to get involved. But then, some of them, they're looking for those more competitive opportunities, and how can we build those to have athletes graduate from tops into a competitive opportunity. We offer local, regional, state, and then from there, our athletes can go into national competitions. We actually have one coming up in 2026 in Minnesota. Hopefully you've all saw that our Holden Youth Soccer partnership with them. They're actually going to be representing us the next USA Games, and we also have worldwide competitions where we send athletes to world events where they compete against athletes across the world. We are sending 2 athletes to Torino in February to compete in alpine skiing, so that's a great thing to see. What do we do? How do we do it? We create partnerships with people in the communities. We're looking to build out community leadership. Without our community leadership and our community volunteers, we can't do our programming, and I think it's the same as everyone on this call. We're a small staff, but we're looking, we can't do it without our community leaders. So our community leaders, they're just like everyone else. They coach, they volunteer, they fundraise, they run our programming with the guidance from us. I think, like John said, you don't need to know your sport to get involved. Granted, that's always a huge plus, and I think everyone on this call will say the same thing. But we provide you with the resources to get involved, and you can get involved at any age. Our programming starts at 2 with our young athletes and goes to end of life. I think our oldest athlete here in Massachusetts a few years ago was over 100. Like he was 104, and he was still competing in bowling events. So we're here for everyone to get them involved. So we're always looking to build our relationships with our partners and with like-minded organizations as well to provide these opportunities for these individuals. John, you can go to the next one. So like I said earlier, Special Olympics is I didn't say so, but Special Olympics, we're a worldwide organization. But here in Massachusetts, we are our franchisee locally here in Massachusetts, and we are everywhere. We're all throughout the state, from elementary schools all to community programs. We partner with all types of schools, all types of recreational programs, to agencies that provide opportunities for our population. But beyond sports, we offer leadership opportunities for our athletes, either being content creators, going to companies to speak about their involvement. We have our fundraising initiatives, from our Polar Plunge to our Extra Mile, which was the Boston Marathon, the New York City Marathon. And then we have health and fitness opportunities where either athletes can come to our events to get free health screenings, or there's fitness opportunities where they can go out and work out, have these wellness opportunities, these fitness opportunities to make them a better athlete. So we partner with local gyms to implement our fitness initiatives. John, you go to the next one. So there's many ways to join us. One is that QR code. That's the easiest way to do it. You can go to our website, which is specialolympicsma.org, and we have a get involved, join our community forum, and we will answer a whole bunch of questions to answer, and then we do our best jobs to match everyone up with a program in their area that fits their needs. So happy to answer any questions at the end of this presentation, but I'll kind of keep it short and simple because I know there's a lot of other great presentations and organizations who are here to speak as well.
Wonderful. Awesome. Cheers, Matt. Thank you for that. Appreciate you giving us a little bit of insight into some of the wonderful work you're doing with SOMA. And now we will hear from Mara Yale from CP Soccer.
Can you advance the slide? There you go. Hi, I'm happy to be here. I'm Mara Yale. I co-run the New England chapter of Cerebral Palsy Soccer. So here's our crew at the Revolution Fieldhouse, Gillette, on a fun day with the Fox. We started, CP Soccer nationally started in 2017. And we slowly started the New England program in 2019. And then we had to take a pause for the pandemic. And we're really just hitting our stride with critical mass this spring, or this last spring and this fall. We consistently had a really strong participation, mostly at our field that we're using in Framingham. We have collaboration with Framingham United Soccer for field space, but we also move around. So this was at Gillette, as I mentioned, and we have some sessions coming up in Boston in January. And we've also started collaborating with amputee, New England Amputee Soccer, which you'll hear about more from Danielle, who's coming next, I believe. Next slide. So what is cerebral palsy soccer? It's soccer for ambulatory kids. Typically 7 to 18 is the age range, and we're inclusive of kids who have cerebral palsy or have had a stroke or traumatic brain injury. And so it's a little bit more narrow than some of the colleagues you've heard from so far. And we have regional teams around the country. I think there are more than a dozen now, as well as national programs. We tend to run a spring season and a fall season, as I mentioned, mostly in Framingham, but we're trying to move around. And we draw people from as far as an hour away. Next slide. We, as I mentioned, we started to collaborate with the amputee folks who are also building out their program. And it really helps because both of these programs are fledgling, like starting with 5 kids. And so how do you find kids with this sort of narrow class of disabilities? And the biggest way is to grow the geographic reach and also move around where you're holding clinics. So in addition to the regional programs like the New England one I've been showcasing, we have a sleepaway camp that's in Fort Anne, New York. It's a Golden Goal facility near Albany, and that's in late June annually. My own child is 15 now and has gone to that camp the last four summers for a week at the end of June, and it's a highlight of their summer. We also have research projects like this graphic on the right is a summer camp that we hold in New York City. And that's part of a research project that is a collaboration between CP Soccer, Spalding Rehabilitation, Mass General, as well as Columbia University. And what we're researching is what are barriers and facilitators to youth participating in sports in general, not just soccer, but what really helps kids participate and what hinders their participation. And toward that end, the final bullet here is an award that we've recently won from PCORI, which is Patient-Centered Outcomes Research Institute. And we're building a community network to build capacity for growing physical activity, in this case through cerebral palsy, but it's not narrowly set on that. It's really any kind of childhood onset motor disability, and it's not limited to soccer. So we're networking with others, as I already mentioned, with the amputee crew, as well as with Joe Walsh of Adaptive Sports New England. And one example of that is coming up in January. We're going to be hosting 4 sessions on Sunday mornings at the Bubble at Northeastern, and that's collaborative with the City of Boston, with New England Amputee Soccer, and likely with New England Adaptive Sports New England. So I'm also happy to answer questions, and I'll put my contact information in the chat. Thanks so much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mara. Appreciate that and all the good work that you're doing through CP Soccer. Up next, we will have Danielle from New England Amputee Soccer Association.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Danielle Potemry. I'm here representing New England Amputee Soccer. I am the chair of the New England chapter, manager of the New England Amputee team, and helping to head our youth program, also working with American Amputee Soccer for regional development and events. So before I get started, if you've already heard about amputee soccer, that's awesome. If not, you're in for a treat. Amputee soccer is an adaptive sport where the players have a limb difference. So on the field, they're playing with one leg and the goalies have one arm that they're playing with. So amputee soccer was founded in 1980 and since has become a worldwide adaptive sport. And now it's beginning to grow and grow in the US. It's played traditionally on a 6v6, 8v8 type field. We have 7v7 format. But beyond that, we're here to talk about what is just more than the sport of amputee soccer and what it can provide for our youth players now that has been growing more. So we just a little bit of recap. We recently had our women's national team come in second at the first ever Women's World Cup. We've had our men's team play in numerous tournaments worldwide. And then this past October, we had our second annual US Amputee Soccer Cup, which was held in Boston. And we had the largest youth clinic that we've had in the US come during that. So ultimately, we want to empower this new generation of youth players to, show off their skills, to learn more, to build a community with other people. And I think kind of echoing a lot of what everyone else was talking about. So here we have our men's team on the left, and then that was our youth clinic at the top. Okay, sorry, Sean, thank you. So programs and impact. Our youth clinics, as I mentioned, have been slowly getting bigger each time. One of the most helpful things we've done in the past couple of years have been partnering with CP Soccer, which Mara mentioned. We started out maybe having one or two players join the clinics with them, and each time and each season we've gathered and held on to more players. So I think that's one thing that's been helpful is just partnering with all these different adaptive soccer outlets and organizations, and that helps it grow. We also work on fundamentals of soccer with these kids and how to use the crutches. And, some people have never even played soccer or a sport in their life. And so teaching them, the rules of the sport and how to interact with other players. Community building is another impact of this organization. We have families getting together from all different backgrounds with sharing the same goal as wanting their children to be involved in sport and wanting them to have other people like them. It historically has been hard for a lot of these youth players with limb difference to find others in similar situations as them. And so being able to meet another kid who also has a limb difference can be really impactful. And just providing a space for the families to chat with each other about experiences they've gone through, showcasing their resilience with each other, and just providing a space for everyone to interact. And then amputee soccer engagement, we provide our players, volunteers, anyone who wants to be part of the organization, an opportunity to participate in our amputee soccer events. So whether this be coming with the team to one of their practices or having our men's team or women's team help coach the players. We had our youth clinic during our US Amputee Cup, so they were able to come watch the game, see these players perform at a competitive level, but then also come back and learn fundamental skills of soccer alongside. Next slide, please. So beyond just the sport of amputee soccer, I think a picture is worth 1,000 words. So these are just all different examples of times when our youth players have been able to participate in the sport and interact with our other players and different things they've been able to take away from it. So all of these, I think, are attributes that players can get from being involved in this organization, whether you are a youth player with a limb difference who wants to get involved, a volunteer, a coach, someone who just wants to help grow the sport of soccer. It can help these kids with skill building, the physical skills of playing soccer, physical activity, finding opportunities to stay active, and then also these lifelong skills that these kids are in the in the perfect time of their life to be learning them, like leadership, sportsmanship, teamwork, communication, similar to what all these amazing people and organizations that we're hearing from are talking about. We're breaking down barriers to sport. So you can, in fact, play soccer, you can have fun, you can be a kid, you can play competitively with one leg or with one arm. And others with different disabilities or people just wanting to get involved can, in fact, coincide with these players. And I think everyone has something to learn from. And I think the two biggest ones I want to touch on are inclusivity and excellence and community. So achieving excellence isn't possible without the space and the resources to do so. A lot of these players, a lot of these families are willing to put in the work and want to make the trip. We have people traveling, from hours away just to get involved for our youth clinic at the Cup. We had people traveling from, Michigan and taking 10-hour drives to get here. And I think just providing the space for them to be able to do so is important. And then just having a sense of belonging and somewhere that we can exercise this inclusivity is helpful. Next slide, please. So how can you get involved? We have lots of clinics, lots of events going on. As Mara mentioned, we have the January clinics coming up. So we will be there with our youth players, and we just want to get the word out for all these events. If you want to join our newsletter, you can sign up for that via our website below, our Instagram link, that will keep you in touch with all the events that are going on. We are recently, as of the beginning of this year, a nonprofit organization as the New England chapter. So we're starting to head our fundraising and always looking for more help with growing the sport. So if you're at all interested in any level, you can reach out to myself, email is there, or Nico Calabria, who is the president of the organization. We are all open to be combining with every organization and just helping to grow the sport for people with disabilities. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Danielle. Appreciate that. I've had the pleasure of seeing some of this work in action, and it's super cool and great to see the growth that they've had over the last few years, but obviously more opportunity for growth and expanding their programming. So if you can help out or want to learn how you can help out, please do feel free to get in touch with Danielle and Nico as well. And closing us out now, we'll have Joe Walsh from Adaptive Sports New England.
Thank you, Sean. And thanks everybody for being here today, spending some time with us. Great presentations by my colleagues here, focused on soccer. I actually are probably going to not focus so much on soccer and talk about some other opportunities for youth who have disabilities and the services that we provide and the programs we provide with Adaptive Sports New England. Just a tad about myself. I grew up as a kid who was and who still is blind. I've got some limited vision, but grew up as someone with very little vision. Played many years of Little League baseball with very little success. Found soccer to be much more pleasurable with a bigger ball and a bigger space. That was very helpful to me. But went on to learn about cross-country skiing and got pretty successful at cross-country skiing with a ski guide that I trained with and raced with, and did some international competitions there. So one of my messages to you all is that finding the right sport for kids who have disabilities is a real treat to be able to do, and it's something that we can all contribute to, because there are sports that work better for kids who have different disabilities, as well, and as that fits in with the rest of their personalities and their growth. I have spent a lot of time working on sports for blind children or blind athletes, and also for other athletes who have disabilities within the Paralympic realm. I'll talk a little bit more about that. Yep, here we go. Good move there, Sean. So Adaptive Sports New England, our mission is to increase participation in sports for youth and adults who have either a physical disability, a mobility impairment, or a vision impairment. And so in that realm, we do work within the Paralympic construct of adaptive sports, and do our best to support and make referrals to programs like Special Olympics when we come across individuals who don't have the types of profiles that we serve or that we create programs for. So in that way, I think we try to be a good partner, whether that be working collaboratively with some of our other adaptive sport programs, or just communicating with and sharing information about other adaptive sport programs. Thanks. So one of we are Adaptive Sports New England, and we serve athletes from across New England and sometimes beyond that, with our consultations and conversations and guidance and information about other programs. But locally, we run our sports club programs that are the on-the-ground activities that we put on mostly every week during seasonally, and those are all within Greater Boston. So inside in or around the 128 belt is where our programs are located. Some are right in downtown Boston, and others are in the more suburban areas. We draw our audience predominantly from the 495 belt. We have athletes who come from Worcester and Gloucester and Andover and New Bedford, and everywhere inside that loop. Occasionally we get athletes coming from Maine or New Hampshire or Rhode Island, but most of our weekly participants come from within that 495 belt. We run programs in swimming. We do a swim lessons program as well as a swim team program. We have wheelchair basketball. We do a rowing program with Community Rowing in Brighton. We play beep baseball with our athletes who are blind. That's both an adult and a youth program. And we have a track program. Right now, our track program is predominantly a wheelchair track program for kids. But we have in the past and will continue to work on ambulatory track programs for athletes who are visually impaired, as well as those who have a physical disability, but who are runners. So again, in that Paralympic model that you may see, whether they have cerebral palsy or a TBI or an amputation or a limb difference, we will work with them and with our collaborating local youth track clubs. We worked a lot with the youth enrichment services in Boston and some other club programs. Elsewhere in Greater Boston, there are opportunities for kids who have a vision or mobility impairment to play a variety of other sports, such as sled hockey, tennis, sailing, at community boating in downtown in Boston proper, and Pierce Park Sailing in East Boston. There are a couple of wheelchair lacrosse programs in Reading and up in New Hampshire at University of New Hampshire, Northeast Passage. There's also some programs in power soccer, which is an indoor sport played on a gym floor with electric wheelchairs, high souped up electric wheelchairs that push around a large soccer ball, and play a competitive 4-on-4 game. So, but there are lots of other opportunities within Greater Boston, and we work with these organizations on sports that we don't host ourselves, but we know they're running good programs, so we make referrals and support communications. We run a website and have a calendar that doesn't include just the activities we're running, but a lot of other activities as well for kids in our in the group that we serve. So, one of the dangers of being blind is I can't see my slides, but we run other programs, our services more, what we sometimes refer to as our sport concierge service, where we'll work with families that call us or that we know or that come participate in our programs and trying to create solutions for how they can participate in their local club program or a school program. We've worked with the Mass Interscholastic Athletic Association, the MIAA, to create some rules for how kids who have physical and visual impairments can participate in para sport categories within high school athletics. Track and swimming and tennis are the three that are most prominently developed, but we will work with you on any of those. We work with a variety of YMCAs or others when we get calls from folks who can't travel to our programs or want to choose to do other activities. We will work with a local club program and try and assist with finding a program and coaching up their coaches or advising their coaches in a manner that allows them to have a more open and inclusive perspective on including kids who have disabilities in their local programs, their typical programs. So, yeah, we work a little bit with the Mass Commission for the Blind, with the MIA, and with YMCAs. So we work with other folks too, but those are some of the brands that we work with. So these are just two of my favorite athletes. Both of these athletes have graduated from college now, and Katrina is actually a physician out in San Diego in a pediatrics residency. These are some of our early on athletes who broke the mold with regard to participating in high school athletics in Massachusetts. They were the first athletes, Josh on our left and Katrina on our right, participating in track and field competition at the state high school championship level competition. So, and MIA continues to do that. And we've had athletes in those programs every year since, which has been about 10 years now. Yeah, so our motto there is more kids, more sports, more often. That's what we're after, to try and keep kids who have a vision or mobility impairment active and get them engaged in sports. We all know the benefits, and we've heard today reminded us of many of the benefits of participating in sports. So that be our kids who play wheelchair basketball with us, they don't see other kids who use wheelchairs at any point during their week, except for when they come to play wheelchair basketball with their friends there. They interact with their peers and friends in their schools, but they have another group of friends and peers that they have different experiences with and can share different things with when they come to some of our programs. And one more slide, and I think that's just my contact information. There you go. And we're always open to one of the services we provide, as I said, is consultation. So we're ready to work with program organizers or with families or other leaders, coaches who want to talk through some challenges or get some ideas on where they might be able to play or have their kids play. So thank you, everybody. Thanks very much. Soccer is one of our favorite sports. We do want to support everybody who's there, and we work as I think as Danielle and Mara said, we're working with them on some other programs throughout the year. So thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate you sharing a bit of information about all the great opportunities and different sport offerings that you have through Adaptive Sports New England. So again, if you think that you or anyone else could benefit from participation or support in Adaptive Sports New England, please do reach out to Joe. And also want to let you guys know that we are able to connect families with any of these organizations that might best suit their players. And our goal here at Mass Youth is to collaborate with each of these programs to ensure that all players have the opportunity to play in an environment that best suits their needs. So if you need any help facilitating introductions, have any more questions, if you need any support in navigating the different opportunities, please do feel free to reach out to myself, Tammy, or anyone else at Matthew Soccer, and we'd be more than happy to help you along with that. And again, many thanks to our guests and sharing all of the information. This actually might be the first webinar that I've been a part of in which we actually finished our guests at good time. So I appreciate you guys all doing a good job with your presentations. And now we'll have an opportunity to ask our guests any relevant questions that you all might have for any of them, either specifically for a program or just in general. If you do have a question, just feel free to unmute yourself and give us a shout. I see Travis here has a question off the bat, so we can start off with him.
Thanks, Sean. My name is Travis Baggett. I'm the president of Arlington Soccer Club, and I direct our top soccer program. First, I just wanted to thank John, Matt, Mara, Danielle, and Joe for your presentations. Those were really, really informative. I have two questions that I think are related. One is specific to Joe first, and it's whether Adaptive Sports New England has any plans for expanding their blind soccer offering specifically, and in particular, team blind soccer. And then the second question, which I'll welcome hearing from anyone or everyone about, is that one thing I find challenging is kind of building a critical mass. So within Arlington, I might have a few small number of kids with a particular disability type, and they would really love to be part of a team environment, but there's not enough of a critical mass to form a team to support that interest. And so how do we help them to plug into a team of people with similar disabilities so they can enjoy the real benefits of the team aspect of the sport? So first, the blind soccer question, and then second, the broader sort of critical mass question. Thank you.
Oh, thanks for both questions, Travis. I'll take a crack at this. First off, on the blind soccer, we'd love to do a blind soccer program. We're a really small operation. We've got two full-time staff and two half-time staff to run our whole operation, including the sports programming and all of the administration and operations. So we just are limited by capacity. If you want to have a conversation about that, we're totally open to having that and trying to figure out how we can take advantage of all the resources around Greater Boston and beyond to put in place a program. So please reach out to me and let's have that conversation, because I'm very interested in it. So with regard to your other question, I'll take a crack at it and let others do as well. Is that, within all of the state of Massachusetts, there are 600 school-age kids who are legally blind. So 600, that's it. So spread out all over the place, and that's K through 12 and beyond. So there really is only going to be one or two in most communities in the whole K through 12 range. So it's very difficult to put together something on a very local basis. The numbers are pretty similar to when you talk about kids who have physical disabilities without multiple impairments. And so we do run our programs sort of with the goal of sort of having everybody be able to come within under an hour to get to them. And that's sort of our standard, is trying to create a program that will populate with that as scope. But we'll also work with anyone to try to figure out how to do something that's more inclusive on a local basis. It won't be gathering kids who have similar disabilities together to play sports, but maybe do something that's a little bit more inclusive with the typical programs that are in your home regions.
I'll take a stab at that second question as well. I think Joe has taught me that the critical mass comes maybe once a week, whereas the local programming can be more frequent through the local programs that have a broader inclusion umbrella. And some of the more niche specific programming comes in that once a year camp, being with other kids who are all wearing ankle foot orthotics, for example, all having very similar challenges. And then actually, I do have a thought on the visual impairment. We have one athlete who has been coming for a couple of seasons now who has cortical visual impairment. And he needs a little bit more guidance and a one-on-one support. And so one of our volunteers has been helping him, or one of his parents. And the next step is that we need to get him a ball with a bell, which is what the blind soccer actually uses, and a tether. So I was at a Perkins conference on CVI, and an athlete came up to me and said, that was a great presentation about supporting this kid with CVI, but you could take it further by bringing in the tools that are appropriate for that kid, even in a setting that is not primarily for him. And I think that also speaks to our bridge, including the amputee soccer with CP soccer. Those kids are pretty on par with physical needs, and they tend to play well together. And it's much more fun to go and have 10 to 15 kids than fewer than 5. And it's taken a long time to build to that.
Yeah, I think to add on, I think we're probably a little bit different than some of the other presenters here, is that we have a bigger population to pull from. Like we shared earlier, we have over 17,000 athletes, but they range from ages from 2 to end of life. But and we're probably hitting 1/3 of the eligible people here in Massachusetts. So a lot of our teams are already established, but usually when people come to us, like we try to figure out what their interests are and where they live and connect them what they can do locally. When it comes to soccer, we're really working with Tammy and John to start like what are the entry points, because we're all doing soccer for people with disabilities. Some like be physical, some were more intellectual, but have that common entry point that we can partner up and then identify the athletes who want that next level of competition, which we can provide them with it. And then in some cases, we look just to regionalize it. What communities can we partner up together and have one central location that like maybe 2 or 3 teams can come, towns can get together and come together and play in one different spot. So that I think partnering with your neighbor towns, you can probably expand on your population that you can pull from.
Thank you.
So thank you for that question, Travis, and thank you for those answers. Does anyone else have a question that they would like to ask our guest? Again, you can also type in your questions directly in the chat if that is more functional for you. If not, I think Tammy, there are a couple of questions that might have been submitted in advance for our guests that we could ask them at this time.
Sure. One of the questions that we received was, what are some ways that you've all been successful in promoting and educating people and other organizations about adaptive sports and the various opportunities that exist for athletes with disabilities? I'll let any one of you jump in and answer that question.
I know through our organization, through amputee soccer, and also with partnering with CP soccer, especially for our youth clinics, reaching out to local hospitals and clinics has been really helpful. I am a clinician for prosthetics and orthotics at Boston Children's, so I will, kind of send out flyers or post things up there, send emails, and everyone is always super willing to send that to their patients and people who come through. So, you know, getting the word out that way has been super helpful.
Thank you.
Similarly, I run an education program that actually reaches nationally and internationally, but is rooted at Mass General Hospital, and it's called Pediatric Stroke and Brain Injury Education. And we've had several different webinars, not dissimilar from this, on different dimensions of adaptive sports and how adaptive sports can be therapeutic, not just physically, but socially, emotionally, and in helping build community. So we're sort of constantly reinforcing that message to get outside of the classic PT/OT for therapeutic needs and to include sports in the profile of what's beneficial from really quite young.
Yeah, I think from our perspective, we're like I said earlier, we're worldwide, so we have a very high, I think it's a 90% favorable brand recognition rate across the world. So we get a lot of people word of mouth. You know, community. I think people, when you have a community of disabilities, everyone kind of seems to come together, and we get very good success from word of mouth. But our building up our schools partnerships, our relationships with local parks and recs, we're able to get out there and talk to people, and they can see like, hey, I'm participating in the school. What's my next step? I want to get involved in. Having also relationships with you know, the state and DMR, which it's not DMR anymore, but having those relationships and having those resources to get out, and we're in the field all the time, just kind of talking to the mission, you know, working with Tammy about soccer, working with Joe as well, and other partners to tell that we're out here, we're available, and people find us.
You know, and to complement, I mean, those are great communication strategies, and we employ them as well, and work with all of our partners to do that. There's also a ground game element of this, right? Which is just showing up, because the fear of the unknown is much greater than anyone can imagine, right? So if we talk to somebody about an athlete with a limb difference or somebody who's blind and they want to play a certain sport, the first answer is always no, because they don't know what to do with that and they don't know anything about it. But when the athlete shows up and starts participating and shows what that athlete can really accomplish, oftentimes the coaches and program administrators and whatever, all the involved adults look up and say, "Oh yeah, we can make this work." So and getting the kids to help advocate too is great, because the kids are always more open and welcoming than some of the adults who are in control. So.
Great. Thank you so much, Joe. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Mara. Thank you, Danielle. And thank you, John, as well. Appreciate your time today and providing so much valuable information that hopefully everyone on the webinar today can take something from. And also special thanks to Matthew Soccer again for hosting this, and a very special thanks to Tammy for all of her organization in putting this webinar together. We'll share around this recording just in case there's anything you want to go back to or missed out on. And then we'll also share around all of our guest contact information in case we do want to get in touch with any of them. But again, please know that Mass Youth Soccer is also a resource for you in helping facilitate any communication with these organizations as well. So we hope you guys were able to take something from this, and thank you again for your time. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.